How's it going?
Not too bad. I feel like I can't nail down the light situation that I want necessarily. But I'm also trying to keep up with your plants, obviously. I was like, I'll go by my one area.
Yeah, don't even try.
I know, it's completely impossible. You literally live in an oasis. I love it. Oh my God. That's
Every
so rad.
fall, someone's like, "Oh my God, your plants."
They're fantastic. Well, and I love that we're both kind of weirdly wearing our red Christmas sweaters today without even, without even
No
coordinating.
coordination. You just share a brain.
Very cool. Well, Melissa, I love getting together to make some cards. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like this is the time of year that we're missing friends and family. We can't travel to see everybody that we want to see. And I really love getting mail. It's way better than getting a bill in my mailbox. So there's something so exciting about a cool envelope that's covered with stickers, and you see your friend's address on there and you just know there's going to be something good inside. So it's super fun with cards.
It absolutely is. And I completely agree. I feel like there's a joy to getting physical mail that is just like it's the only thing that even reminds me of it is like whenever you're driving or you're just listening to the radio and one of your favorite songs comes on without expecting it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know why those are the same feeling to me, but it's something about the joy that it sparks in you feels similar.
Yeah, all those memories come through.
Absolutely. Well, cool. So we're doing a sort of a specific type of card, huh?
Yeah, so we're gonna make some pop-up cards, which have kind of a 3D aspect to them. So they can just be made out of paper. They could also be made out of a really light cardboard. I don't know if you recognize this material. This is one of my favorite materials, but it's an old tissue box. You might have a lot of these around this time of year because we've all got our stuffy noses. But I really love tissue boxes because they have super cool designs on them. So what I did with this one is I cut out a bunch of the little circles and designs, and I kind of glued them together to make little presents. So what's going to happen is my presents are going to pop out of the card and get this kind of springy effect using an accordion fold made out of paper. So if you have some cardboard around, if you have some magazines with cool images around, even if you have holiday cards from maybe relatives that you don't really like and they're around from years past and you want to cut them up.
I am ready to cut. I even have a friend's thank you note from their wedding. We'll cover that up. It has some cool lights on here that I wanted to make use of.
Yeah, even if you are missing some of your favorite relatives and you have pictures of them that you printed out, or you always get some of those blurry old pictures that never really came out right, you can always cut out your favorite uncle and have him kind of popping out of the card. So that could be really fun.
My favorite uncle would love to be a part of a pop-up card. He is extremely cool. That's
Sometimes you
awesome.
just have that people who kind of just pops into the room like that. I definitely have one of those.
Oh yeah, it's part of the duty of being an uncle. I feel like you have to have that wild card aspect to you.
Yeah. So your first step, and I know that you're going to make a little bit of a slightly different card than me, but your first step is going to make the body of your card. So I have just a regular size paper. If you have bigger paper, smaller paper, you're just going to fold it in half. And I just make the ends meet up and I fold it in half. Maybe you have some thicker cardstock at home.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be really sturdy, you can always fold it back the other way and fold it again. And then it feels really nice and crisp. If you maybe don't want your card to be that big and you want it to fit into a smaller envelope, what you could do is you could cut it in half now to get a size like this. And then you could fold that in half. And that kind of seems like a more traditional envelope size.
Totally. I'm gonna
Depends
end
on
up. I'm gonna right off the bat kind of fold two the same way because I know that I'm gonna end up layering these with the design I'm brewing right now.
yeah. So you're doing like a sandwich with your paper.
Little sandwich, for sure.
I think I'm actually going to stick with the smaller size because it's kind of cute. And then once you have the body of your card, that's kind of going to determine all those 3D elements that you put in there. It's going to determine how big those are going to be. So anything that's going to go inside my card, I don't want it to be much bigger than this. So it'll be your guide.
Great call.
I also have this really cool bright green paper. It's pretty festive. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a little tree for my presents. The tree shape can be kind of difficult, so maybe it'll be a Charlie Brown tree, kind of like a stick figure. That's fine. Don't worry about it if it doesn't come out exactly how you want.
Well, that's the point. They're all charming, no matter what the shape of your tree is, as we learned from our good friends Charlie and Lucy and Snoopy.
Yeah, they have more character that way.
They do. I'm thinking I got a really cool birthday card here. But it's from some friends in Millville who I know love crafting too. So I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna try to cut this bear out and turn him into like a bear Santa Claus. So that'll be my little background project here. We'll check in a moment.
Yeah, and if maybe you have, the same with the tissue boxes, maybe you have some cereal boxes and, you want like Tony the Tiger or Captain Crunch to be
totally
like to your friends. So I'm going to tilt myself just a little bit so hopefully you can see some more of what I'm working with. I have some.
Yeah, that's great. I'm trying to do the same.
I have some regular glue. I have some glue sticks. I have my favorite colored pencil case with all my pencils inside. Oh, it looks like Wonder Woman is going to join us for some crafting. And I have just a bunch of different markers. So I'm going to draw the shape of my tree. And again, I'm not going to be too worried about it if it doesn't come out how I want. I'm also going to keep this card as my guide to kind of figure out how big my tree can be.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm just kind of taking a minute to cut out my bear and get him ready to be, for his new role as Santa Bear. And there's also a couple of good presents on here. And so I'm basically just kind of cutting out on my fun little, extras for the card.
Yeah, and if you have things you need to glue together, that can always be a good time to, while you're waiting for your glue to dry, you can sort of like take a break, eat some snacks, whatever you need to do to keep planning the rest of your card.
All right.
All right, I'm leaving room up at the top of my tree for maybe one of these other circles that I cut out. Maybe that'll go up at the top of my tree.
Nice.
I also used one of the little ones to make a bow for one of these presents here. I think we need a tree trunk. Don't really have a great color for that. Let's see what kind of colors I have.
Conveniently have some books here, which is nice. I can use that to draw on and write on.
So today we didn't put out a kit of materials at the library because we figured that you probably have a lot of these materials at home and we probably didn't need to give you any. So.
Well, and like always, friends, we're always we love making the kits and everything, of course. But we also just love to see the kind of like creativity that comes out of, all of you finding about what's around the house and thinking about what would be cool to make based off of that. Because a lot of times those are some of the most fun projects that we have, whether we're at home or when we would do that sort of thing in the makerspace. So it's good stuff.
I also find that I always have a ton of scrap paper around. So scrap paper is really good for this because that's how we're going to fold up our little spring that's going to make things pop out. So if you have some strips, you can cut some strips. It doesn't matter if there's stuff on them. If you got some old art of your own lying around and you're feeling like you're just not into having it on the fridge anymore or whatever, laying around your room, you can always just repurpose that stuff. So
absolutely.
I have my little tree. I'm going to cut it out. I've made some marks around the side to kind of show me where my card is actually going to be. So to make this easier to cut out, since it's kind of detailed, I'm just going to cut my paper.
Very cool.
That way I'm not worried about holding onto this huge piece of paper while I'm cutting.
I just drew some little bits for my bear to make him into Santa. Got a little beard, a couple of, like a hat, some suspenders there.
I love that hat.
Oh yeah, that's like a good Santa hat. Always fun. Yeah, I'm surprised like the Santa hat style hasn't really caught on in popular culture, See that being a great winter cap of sorts for folks. You don't see enough Santa hats. Oh.
What's great is that they have that lovely pom-pom on the top.
Of course.
I feel like we used pom-poms last week.
Right. So friends, I mean, I don't know. Could you create your own Santa hat with your newfound pom-pom knowledge? Could be possible.
You can turn any hat into a Santa hat.
You're just a pom-pom away. That's cool. That's gonna work.
All right, so just still cutting out my tree here. I maybe should not have glued this cool thing on top before cutting it out, I realize, but doing my best here.
Yeah, it's all part of the process. Cool.
All right, my tree is mostly cut out. I'm gonna get some of the finer details here.
Yeah, I'm just working on my suspenders, and I'm gonna glue my bear together here and start actually just kind of starting to probably decorate the outside of my card, I think. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, so I got my tree. Maybe I'll keep decorating it, but before I get too into the details, I'm gonna show you how to make this little spring, which is gonna, when you open the card, you're gonna get a nice surprise because I'm hoping that the tree and the presents are gonna kind of pop out at you. So we're gonna take a strip of paper. It could be really wide, it could be skinny, and you can practice this a bunch of times, right? It's not crucial that it's like perfect the first time. It might take you a couple times. So first what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the top of my strip and I'm gonna fold it toward me, maybe like an inch, right? And then I'm gonna fold it back toward you just so that that edge lines up with the end of my paper. I'm going to keep doing that back and forth. And I'm kind of trying to keep them the same size. They don't have to be the same size. You can always have a fun, really like wonky, fun spring if you want. And if you have a bigger shape, like my tree, you're going to want a bigger kind of surface area for your glue to go. If I have kind of a smaller situation like this present, we're gonna want a skinnier accordion. And again, it can be as many folds as you want. The great thing about this is you can cut it to size. So if I really, if this was really too big, I could just cut it in half. That would be fine. So I'm gonna glue it to my tree, and you can use, glue from a bottle, you could use a glue stick. Sometimes glue sticks get old and sad, so I might use glue from a bottle here. I had this great art teacher one time who said, just a dab will do you. You only need a little bit of glue. If you put too much, you risk your project getting all soggy. That's no fun.
Right. Yeah, I think we've all unfortunately had a little bit too soggy of a project before. It's hard to not get wild with the glue, you know, and especially once you get into the hot glue territory, I've seen some bubbly rubber in the maker space for sure.
It's a precious resource, you know, you don't want to waste it.
Very true. Very fun.
I set up the end of my spring with some glue, and I'm just going to smush it into the middle of the tree. And you could try this a bunch of different ways. You know, if you want, you know, you could have your spring going this way, you could have your spring going this way, but we're probably going to adjust, right? Because it's a pretty heavy shape. So I'm probably going to trim it so that it's not quite so springy. And that might take a couple different, you know, I could trim just a little bit and then adjust and see if that's how I like it. It's entirely up to you.
Very cool. Yeah, it's nice to be able to have a little bit of space there to like adjust, to make adjustments, you know?
Yeah.
If
you cut it too far, it might be, you can never go back, you know?
Right. Just made me think of the end of Lord of the Rings for some reason, just thinking about Frodo heading on the ship. Not to spoiler alert. Sorry, friends. I don't know why. I just got Lord of the Rings on the brain, I guess. Every time it snows, I start thinking about Lord of the Rings.
I was going to say, would you say that that's like a holiday movie?
It totally is, yeah, which I think is a fun point that not all holiday movies that you have to be about the holidays, really. More about your association with them, you know?
Yeah, hanging out with friends and family.
And there's Santa Bear, friends. He's looking pretty stoked. Conveniently had that kind of green bottom, yeah, so he's ready to rock.
I love that beard.
I know, yeah, it's very worked out. I was thinking about trying to cut a goatee around his, well, out of that, around his whole nose, you know, little mustache action, but
yeah. And he's even holding a present. It's so joyful.
He's ready to rock. This like interesting kind of like little like snowman-esque keychain at the bottom as well. That just was sort of there. And maybe it's a bird, but now I'm thinking snowman. So
and he even has a snowman shape. You know, he's kind of round at the bottom.
Pretty neat he is.
Somewhere.
Very cool.
All right.
Friends, really quickly, if you know, I was gonna show that other spring technique, that other option that I'm gonna try out, which is, so this one's slightly different, but really, you just, you know, you kind of just take your piece of paper as it is, right? And then we're gonna cut 2 slits into the spine of our folded side, and then we're gonna kind of sort of punch that through so that when we open it up, that will be another pop-up mechanism, another mechanism here. So let's see how it goes. I've not tried this before. I think it'll be cool. I saw a very cool 7-year-old doing it on the internet earlier. I was like, oh, you don't say that. Cool. So then we'll be sort of broken up like this. When we open our card, we'll just need to punch the center part through and sort of fold it against itself. Make another fold here. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. And then just so that I don't have a funky, you know, U-shaped or overall shaped card, I'm going to take the other half of my card. And so that whenever the experience of opening it up, I'll be able to pop something out.
Nice. So that second layer is kind of your reinforcement.
Absolutely. Yeah. The great concealer of the secret. Cool.
Looking good.
Yeah.
So your Santa Bear is gonna kind of be glued on top of that interior fold.
I'm gonna put him right like this sort of here. But I'm gonna work on getting this other part first. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, you know, the angle that you'll open the card at will sort of be, you know, like such. Oh, that looks funky. Yeah. But yeah, not so bad.
It's really fun to have that the element
Oh yeah,
the prize.
all about. Yeah, anytime you can make, and I mean, at this rate, friends, we're practically making a toy as well. You know, it's pretty fun. Kind of cool to think about it like that.
All right, so I'm gonna decorate my tree a little bit before I glue down the actual spring, because once that spring is attached to the paper, it's gonna be a little bit trickier to glue anything else on. So always take a minute and pause and think about what really is my next step here,
Right.
because once it's glued down, it's gonna be a little bit harder to change it. And again, I have some really cool circles. These are going to be my like ornaments on my tree. Do you have a favorite ornament from your childhood?
Wow, you know, I do. I have two that I immediately thought of whenever you said that. Yeah, one was a gift when I was very, very young. Um, and it was of Dudley the Dragon, a classic PBS show, especially popular amongst those of us who did not have cable in the 90s. Yeah, Dudley ruled. If you guys aren't familiar with Dudley, I'm sure you can find him on YouTube nowadays. Um, and then the other favorite was my family is Croatian, and we had these like little dolls that my aunt brought over from Croatia, and they were dressed in traditional Croatian dress, which is like hard to describe honestly, but the way that these dolls were made, I loved them, but they really scared my sister when we were little. So my affinity for them grew as I found out that I could scare my sister with them. So another little fun holiday tradition for me, being a pesky little brother, you know.
Yeah, love that.
How about you?
My grandmother always had, every year the tree was different. It was never the same. And so I feel like one year she did the tree all with blue and silver ornaments that were like, they were like twisted glass.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and so they always had just a ton of reflections. And I think a different year she did the tree all with gold and white. And so she had this like golden gauze that wrapped all the way around the tree. It's pretty good.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I
I
don't have a
love
lot
that.
of ornaments that we still have it in our family, but I do remember every year was like a different tree. It looked like it was out of a magazine. It's pretty cool.
Wow. I love that. That's super cool. So something that I ran into that I'm trying to adjust for here is that my bears seem to be a little bit too big to fit in the car perfectly.
Okay.
In the car, huh? You know, you can't get your bear in a car.
He's driving to deliver presents.
Right. So yeah, Santa Bear is a slightly different style than Santa Claus. But so what I'm going to attempt to do is sort of fold back my spring a little bit here, so that it still has the pop effect when you open it up, but it can remain concealed when the card is totally closed. So again, it's talking about those sort of adjustments we can make on the fly and seeing how that works. This is the first time I ever made one like this, but I think it's still going to work and be cool.
Perfect. Okay, I decorated my tree. It's not as perfect as my grandma did.
Ooh, I love that though.
Little lopsided. Maybe the cat knocked some off the bottom here.
Your ornaments really pop there. That was a great choice.
Different textures. People think I'm weird, but this is why I save my tissue boxes, because they just have such great art on them.
Yeah.
And I always feel really bad when I put it in the trash.
Totally.
Or the recycling. Okay, so I'm gonna put some glue on the last piece of my spring. If you're finding that your spring is just like not working out, it can't stand up to the weight of what you put on it, you could always put glue in the middle and turn that into like one fold. So kind of like you're doing with your adjustment that you're making, You can always just glue these shut. It really is fine. It's not going to damage the card.
Hmm.
All right, put a
Very
little bit of
cool.
glue, and then we'll test it out. And I'm just kind of smushing it into the middle. And I'm having my tree also is kind of popping off the edge there, which is kind of kooky and fun.
I'm
Coming at
bumbling on my side, working out the angle to get here to get my bear tucked in. And I, of course, always could make them a little bit smaller, but you know, I mean, I'd hate to do that to Santa Bear. But we just might have to, friends. We'll see.
All right, so I'm also noticing my tree is really heavy. It doesn't really have the spring that I'm looking for. So I think I'm gonna do what I thought and just glue one of the folds together.
Solid.
To kind of make it a little shorter. If I really had to, I could kind of cut it off or do a different one. But I don't think I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm gonna have to make my good friend Santa Bear here just a little bit trimmer for the holidays. You know, he went on a little diet this year.
Yeah, well, he's been working so hard, you know.
He has been. It's a busy season. Feel that.
All right, so now I have my like 3D tree. It's pretty bouncy. Love it when you pull the tree off of the car and put it up, and all the boughs of the tree kind of spread out, and it makes your house smell really good.
Oh, I love that's the best fresh smell, you know.
Do a little dance there. And I think I'm gonna add in my element of my little like presents. Again, super springy, super bouncy. So I'm just gonna trim some off because it's a little long.
Very cool. All right. After the little trim, it looks like I got it where I want it here because we'll just open up and there he is. Cool. So now I'm going to work on kind of, I guess, shaping a little bit of a scene behind Santa Bear here.
Yeah.
You know, just to create a little bit more effect.
I bet if you even had, this could be a cool idea. I don't know if we'll get to do it, but if you had some words that you wanted to cut out, I bet you could cut out the words, or you could write a message and put it in a speech bubble, and that could be kind of popular. That could be sweet.
That would be excellent. Yeah, I'll do that. I think I will. I like that a lot.
Okay, I don't want all of my little gifts to be on springs, so I think some of them they're just gonna be in the background.
Cool.
I'm just making sure to really press them down in there. All right, let's try this out. I'm gonna experiment. Oh.
Ooh. A little bit of sag, but very tight. I love it.
I think I'm gonna do that same thing I did and just kind of help this spring out. Press it down a little more. Did you get any cool stamps this year for your mail?
You know, I did not purchase any, which I really need to actually very soon here. I love stamps, you know, what a cool way to get to like share art and also support a very valuable system that we have. Just awesome.
The Postal Service really helped us out this year.
Absolutely. How about you? Did you grab any?
Yeah, I got these amazing stamps by this amazing artist, Ruth Asawa.
Oh, cool.
She makes these really cool, they're like baskets, but they're crocheted out of wire or like woven out of wire. And so they're all nested inside each other. So they're like a hanging sculpture. And you can kind of look at them from all sides. And yeah, she's pretty famous. She had a couple of kids, and she was just like, she always had her kids hanging out in her art studio with her, because she didn't really have the luxury of them like hanging out somewhere else. So
Right.
pretty cool. There's always these great pictures of her with her making her sculptures, and her kids are all around. So they're
Being
like
awesome.
never too young to make some art.
That is really true. That's very cool. That reminds me of there's an artist I really like named Brian Chippendale. And he's well, he makes incredible visual art and sculptures, but he also is the drummer of the band Lightning Bolt. It's like very famous for doing lots of just really interesting stuff with music and recording interesting sounds to incorporate into their sound and or into their songs. And yeah, he has a young son who's probably like 3 or 4 years old, and they make art together all the time. And he posts it, and it's really collaborative and really just very playful and joyful, but very interesting.
Nice.
So yeah, I noticed we're really we have already hit the half-hour mark, which is crazy, Melissa.
Yeah, I'm about wrapping up here. I'm just putting
Oh,
the
great
finishing
Christmas present pun there, wrapping up.
touches.
Yeah, Sam, I'm gonna take these lights that I cut out of that thank you card earlier and just put them on my tree, that little drawing. And then I'll probably finish this from there. But just wanted to, yeah, kind of get in. I was inspired by your Kleenex box and trees. So I want to make a little multi-texture thing myself.
Yeah, and make sure, if you get really into it and you're really just covering your card with images, make sure that if you want to have a message in there, you leave some room for that.
Just a little space.
Where your message could always go on the front, right? Like I don't have anything on the front of my card yet.
Right.
And you can always sign it, at the end of your Hallmark card, there's something on the back. You could always like take it into all the dimensions, right? Put something on the back. It would be fine as well.
He's super cool. Yeah, and then that way you have more space to create, more ideas to exercise, but it's also just a more fun, card receiving experience with all kinds of stuff to look at. So that's cool.
All right, I think I'm about done here.
Yeah, I'm putting my final touches on.
Who are you gonna send your card to?
That's a great question. I have a friend that lives in South Carolina who I think would think he would probably really get a kick out of Santa Bear. So I'm thinking about maybe sending it to him. How about you?
I don't know. This could be a good one to send to my grandpa.
Ooh, there you go.
Is not feeling so great, so hopefully this can kind of cheer him up a little bit.
Sure it would. Let's hope he feels better. It's not being sick is never fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say? A little final presentation? Whoa!
Yeah.
Ta-da! I'm gonna do that again.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
It does say Merry Christmas. Hard to read backwards, of course.
I bet you could draw a chimney around him, like a fireplace around him. Like descending.
I love that. Yeah, I was thinking about, if you do this technique too, it is important to remember that you can turn, your spring into like a little frame. Like I had a similar thought. I was like, man, I wish I would have drawn something in there. But yeah, pretty cool.
Well,
all right,
thank you,
friends.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We can't wait to see what you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be back next week. We'll actually be doing a slightly different style. It'll be more of kind of we'll really be pushing you all to join us on Zoom next week, and we'll be making some stuff together, but just kind of telling stories and sharing, because that next week will actually be my last video, friends. So I think we mentioned that last week, but Melissa, our new friend, is taking over at the MCL, and we're super excited for her. Yeah, we'll just have a good old holiday hang next week.
Well, maybe we'll show off some of our favorite things that we've made. And if they're kind of a weird size and shape, maybe if we're going to give them as gifts, we could wrap them up. That could be really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so too. I would love that. And wrapping is, of course, its own art in itself. Very cool. Well, all right, Melissa, I'll talk to you soon. And friends, we'll see you very soon, I hope.
See you
All
next
right.
week.
Take care.